And how about the series in India specifically? Do you think it's a sort of an opportunity lost, or do you think it was England did pretty well to be in contention in so many tests?
I think it's been great. Look, India is a very, very difficult place to go, isn't it? You know, they're such a strong team at home, home advantage. I wouldn't say they doctor the wickets, but they make sure that home advantage counts. And with that, you know, it is very difficult for England. But I think they've done themselves proud. Of course, we haven't won. We're 3-1 down. But I think every game's been close and entertaining. And everybody's been talking about, can England do it? Can England do it? And I feel they've done very, very well. But you don't want to go down 4-1. So the next game, the next test is really crucial that England try and win that one.
Siddy, you make absolutely the right points about this new brand of cricket, which has been fantastic to watch. When is it that you start to look at the team and go, okay, we've been entertained now. We know we're going to get entertained. We love watching you, but it is about lifting that trophy at the end of the series. What kind of recommendations do you give them to try and make sure that, in a year and a half time, in particular, the big one, the Ashes in Australia, they're going to get that little urn in their hands? What kind of advice would you give them?
I think for me, when you're on top, you've got to stay on top. There becomes a point where, yes, the style and brand of cricket is great to see, and I love that the positivity that within the group, and everybody backs everybody, and all the talk is about going out there and entertaining. But we are, at the end of the day, in a results business, and I thought we should have won the Ashes. I really genuinely did. Even take the rain away from the Old Trafford Test match, we should have won that series hands down anyway. And there becomes a point where I think you've got to just be sort of stronger, maybe as a team, as a captain, and go, right, we just need to win. We need to win. And playing in an Ashes series, I was never fortunate. You were, Vaughany, to be on both sides, and it's about winning, isn't it, at the end of the day? And I think if you're on top, you've got to stay on top, regardless of the entertainment side. You've got to win.
Just. I mean, I've got obviously Phil's a bowler as well, and yourself, Siddy. If you were in a team and you were all playing this expansive way, but in particular in the second innings, you're getting bowled out in 39 overs, 54 overs, so it's actually giving you as bowlers absolutely no rest whatsoever. When do you as bowlers just nip into the batting unit and go, lads, can you just bat a bit of time, please? Give us a breather.
Yeah, I mean, we are old school, aren't we, me and Phil? And I'd be really peed off if that was the case, especially second innings. Yeah. I'd be really annoyed. The hair would be flying everywhere. The face would be bright red, and I'd be really frustrated. And I think if I was a bowling unit, there has to be at some point where you've got to say something to the batters and go, look, lads, they are a very talented group. But sometimes Vaughany, yourself, you've got to find the balance between attacking and playing test match cricket and reading the situation and what type of situation you're in. And I think getting bowled out, especially second innings, for those low overs is not ideal for the bowlers. And when you get no rest, the pressure's on you anyway in any test match. You're under pressure even more, to try and find or eke out a result, which is always very, very difficult when your team's not gone on and got you a decent total, and scoreboard pressure doesn't really matter at the end of the day. So, yeah, I really believe that sometimes you have to hold your hands up and go, look, we're playing this style of cricket. Everybody wants us to play this style of cricket, but there becomes a point where, you know what, we have to perform, throughout the whole test match and not just one innings or two innings.
Yeah, you've got to let your lunch go down. I mean, I used to like about 10 lamb. I used to like 10 lamb chops at Lord's. I'd only be having 3. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have time to go local shop for a crunchy and a bottle of Coke, do you? Anything. You've got to stay in the dressing room.
Siddy, the amount of times I used to see you with the towel on that physio's bed getting a massage, you don't even have a time for a massage in this team.
Oh, it's ridiculous, isn't it? I used to have a bath and wash my hair and put conditioner in it and go on the massage bench and chat the physio's assistant up for a bit or whatever. watch cricket for 2 hours, and then I might need to put my boots on. But I mean, now I'd have to just keep my whites on, because you never know.
Can't even get changed.
Do you think the England side has suffered a little bit because it's got such an inexperienced bowling attack, especially in this series? Of course, Jimmy's around, but you kind of get the impression he's quite quietly spoken. Do you think it's missing a sort of a spokesman, the bowling attack, someone like Stuart Broad, who would have a presence and would get the bowlers' feelings felt?
I mean, yes, you could say that. Yeah, it's probably lacking in experience, most definitely. But I think we've alluded to it already. Scoreboard pressure, and young lads, when they're under pressure straight away, when they've got such a low total to take 10 wickets, it's very, very difficult. So I think they've done themselves proud. Young Bashir's bowled beautiful. You've got Rehan Ahmed, who's burst onto the scene. It bodes well for England, for the future. I think it shows a little bit about county cricket is still quite strong, and that we can pick players from county cricket that perform and are in good form to come in and do well and play international cricket.
Ryan, always the case in a loss, there seems to be a scapegoat, and Ollie Robinson has been the target of a little bit of criticism. He didn't have the best game with the ball. He got a few runs with the bat. As a seam bowler, how hard? He's played no cricket.
Yeah.
And he looks the kind of bowler to me that he was short of a gallop because he's had no overs. And there are some bowlers, I think there are a few like Mark Wood can just turn up and bowl. He's better for the rest. But for Ollie Robinson, I look at his style of bowling. It looks to me like he needs 2 or 3 games to get into the gallop of Test match cricket.
Yeah, I was not disappointed, but I was quite upset by the numerous comments about his bowling and him being out of form, and sort of not costing England a Test match. But yes, there always is number one villain in any team, or someone's disappointed or not performed how they should. For me, I think you're totally right that you can bowl in the nets all you want. It doesn't matter. You need to play games. You need time in the middle. As a batter, as a bowler, you need to get overs under your belt. And just to thrust him in, when he's been carrying drinks and probably doing lots of fitness, to then go in a very high pressure situation, England needing to win, to then put the onus on him. Yes, of course, he's playing Test cricket, but he needs time. He needs to bowl. He's definitely the type of bowler that needs to get into a rhythm and feel good, and have the ball in his hand for numerous overs to feel good about himself and get into that sort of skill-based area where he's done so well. I mean, you look at his record, it's fantastic, isn't it? I would just say to Ollie Robinson, sometimes maybe I'd like to see his body language a little bit better. He's playing for England, he's representing his country, he's in such a fortunate position. Go out there and, play with a smile on your face, give it everything. And sometimes, he looks a bit like he's not a bit disinterested, and I kind of understand where people are coming from with that. But he needs to bowl. Like most bowlers, he does need to bowl, definitely.
I think with Ollie, he doesn't help himself. And I'm delighted you've mentioned his body language, because he sometimes gives off the impression, I'm sure it's not the case, that he doesn't desperately want to be out there. And that's just that's his persona. But I actually look at the England setup, and they had a couple of A games in India. I'm kind of looking at, could he have played in 1 or 2 of those Test matches just to get himself into kind of match kind of mentality? Because you mentioned bowling in the nets. I mean, you can bowl in the nets, but you don't have to stand in the field for 5 hours in the nets. You bowl your 20, 30 minutes, then you go in, have a brew, have a massage, have a shower, and away you go. Or even in a middle practice, you might bowl a spell of 5 overs, and then you might spend an hour in the field, and then you're always kind of nipping on and off. Whereas when you're in the field all day and bowling, and you've not played for when was his last game? 6 months ago?
Yeah,
very, very difficult.
Yeah, it's immensely tough. And I think also when you're in a net situation, the intensity levels, however much you want to try and replicate that, is never going to be at a test match level. And also, like you say, you have to come back and bowl important, spells and overs at difficult times, and you don't do that in net sessions. So yeah, I totally agree. And that's one thing, we've got this this isn't a criticism to England, but we've got this new regime who are full of positivity. The same could apply to sort of the World Cup as well, couldn't it? You know, everybody was playing in tough, difficult series. You know, Australia were playing South Africa, but we were playing Ireland, and half of our players that were travelling to play in that World Cup weren't even playing in those matches in that series. And then we wonder why we sort of didn't, you know, we fell away quite quickly. And I think the same applies. You know, you've got the A team out there. You know, what is it for? Yes, it is to bring the next generation through in those conditions. But I think also it has to be, number one, is to win a test series. And if your players haven't had much bowling, chuck them in there. I really believe that. And I think sometimes we're doing great things, but then we don't do things in the right way or what we all perceive we should be doing.
Yeah, I tell you what, it does make me chuckle. It's only English cricket, and I do feel sorry for bowlers at times. And another week that I felt sorry for a bowler in Ollie Robinson, that England can get bowled out for nothing in the second innings where the batters make all the mistakes. And there's a couple of players who have got a pair. Johnny Bairstow's got into 30 and got out again, and yet we're blaming the bowler.
Who got a 50 in the first innings, right? And probably picked up a nickel when he was getting those runs.
He got 58 more runs than Ollie Pope, but we're blaming Ollie Robinson.
I think what it is, the bowlers are not bright enough to understand the complexity of what's just happened. So it just goes over our heads, really. I think that's probably why.
Yeah, Middlesex got bowled out, I think, by Lancashire. Wasim Akram done us for about 42 or something like that. And I was number 11 and I got run out for 3. And then as all the batters came back in, Gat said nothing, you know, the batters put the gloves off, sat down and everything. I came back in and I got the biggest ever bollocking in my life for getting run out. I was number 11. Anyone else?
The last wicket's the one everyone remembers.
Oh,
yeah.
What you
They
do?
do. Like,
do you think, a question for everyone, I guess, but do you think it's, Brendan McCullum is obviously very keen on fostering that sort of the unit mentality, and he's keeping them all together. Is that why he doesn't want to send off players to pay for England A maybe and not giving them the game time, because he wants to keep them all together? So there's a balance to be struck.
I would guess that's maybe the thought, but fundamentally, the one thing that an England cricket team has never struggled with is spirit. You never struggle with that dressing room being together, tight. The culture's always spot on. It always has been, always will be. You know, I think it's just sensible to think that. You know, I think it's also management of the different individuals. There are some players that can. You know, look at Jimmy Anderson. Jimmy Anderson, you know, he's fit as a fiddle. You know, I think last year in the Ashes series, he was a little bit short of a gallop in those first couple of Test matches, and it kind of came out. Whereas this winter, I don't know what he's doing, but he certainly looks a lot fitter than I've seen him for a long, long time. He looks back to his best. Whereas you probably know with Ollie Robinson that he's a different kind of person, different kind of character. Yeah. You know, and I just think it's managing the individual. That's what England have done over the course of many years, is manage individuals really well. And then obviously the collective of the team always comes together. But I just look at certain bowlers, and you're the same, Ryan. You know, Siddy, you were a bowler that needed bowling. You know, you were never at your finest in your first outing after a while being out of the game. You know, and there's certain bowlers that need overs, need game time, and they get better and better the more that they play. And I just think Ollie Robinson's that kind of bowler.
Yeah, most definitely, and they probably identified he's kind of a player that you might need to put an arm around him and give him a bit of love. He kind of seems that character. I played, you know, only a handful of games with him at Yorkshire, and you kind of saw the talent, but yeah, he just loses his way a little bit. But yeah, I think he just needs to bowl. He genuinely does. And for me, I would say your fast bowlers, your out and out quick bowlers, they need rest and recovery. Whereas I think your Jimmies and your swing bowlers and your guys that are going to bowl overs and overs need overs under the belts, most definitely.